Now, just like it did in time past, the Senate is again advising President Buhari to declare a state of emergency on insecurity in the country. This decision is the outcome of a point of order moved by Senator Sani Musa, representing Niger East, on the kidnap of school children from Government Science Secondary School, Kagara, Niger State. TJ Suadewi reports.
Another legislative day, and the parliament is greeted with yet another sad piece of news.
Abduction of students and teachers of Government Science School, Kagara.
Senator Sani Musa, representing Niger East, laments yet another abduction, this time in Government Science School, Kagara, and the killing of innocent citizens in his constituency.
I am sure everybody here has stories to tell.
Other lawmakers who contribute to the motion question the ability of the federal government to protect its citizens.
Virtually all states in Nigeria today are facing a lot of security challenges. Where are we heading to in this country? What else do we need to do as lawmakers that we are not doing? Can we rightly say that this government is incompetent in handling the security challenges in this country?
This development is yet another very sad event, which definitely every citizen of this country should be concerned about.
While the security agencies are doing their best in the very difficult circumstances they find themselves, I believe that there is need for something new, a different initiative.
The Senate unanimously resolved to urge President Buhari to declare a state of emergency on insecurity and consider and implement the recommendations of his ad hoc committee on the security challenges in the country.
Thank you very much.
TJ Suadewi, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining me is the co-founder, Amotekun, and convener, Coalition of Odua Self-Determination Groups, Razak Ulukoba. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Right. The Senate is not happy with the security situation in the country. And it's, from the reports we just saw, has asked the president to declare a state of emergency on the security situation on the country and also implement recommendations of the Senate ad hoc committee on the Nigeria Security Situation Challenge 2020, which that was last year, saying that will be a holistic, bring about a holistic response to the challenges we are facing security-wise. I wonder what you make of this, statements coming from the Senate.
I don't think there's anybody happy with the security situation in the country. All the 240 million Nigerians are not happy, including the president. But we have to do the appropriate thing. The security challenges we have is not because there's an absence of gun and bullets or our men are not agile. You go to the rest of the world, they come back with a commendation.
Yes.
It was because we are running an inappropriate political structure. And that is why our security apparatus are not in.
When you say inappropriate, I want you to break it down.
Yeah, okay.
Because we cannot just put out statements without expatiating. Yeah.
That's why you see our economy is not moving well. Not because we don't have experts, good economists in this country. Ngonjo Uwela is one of us. He's one of the most prominent political economic institutions in the country today. So it's not about human resources. It is about how do you put to use the knowledge that you have. And it is the structure of this country that has been preventing us from running our country appropriately. For instance, now, all these artists of the Federation cannot be dependent on the center for economic purpose, for security purpose. All sectors is about Abuja. It's not high time for us to realize that. Why is it that previous government are always better than the current government? It's only in Nigeria that happens like that. In the rest of the world, it's always about the new thing, the new government in place, improving on it. Now, let's look at security structure, for instance. The federal police, the army, is an institution that cannot cater for 36 states of the federation. We've been saying this over and over again, that there's a model all over the world that you can look at. There's no way you run security system the way you run it in Nigeria. You are talking about federative units. and you are running a unitary system of security, you can't run it like that and get it well. So, and it's high time for us to get it right. All organizations, all groups in all the regions are meeting day and night.
Didn't it work years ago before now?
Which years?
Since we became a democracy, since we got into democracy, we haven't had the security situation as it is now. We've been running this kind of system of government.
We warn that the time will come, if you continue this political structure, where an ethnic group will hold another ethnic group responsible for their woe. We warn that the security situation in the country will get to this point. We have projected that if a car is bad, it's not about the driver, it's about the repair of the vehicle. When an onlooker now tells you that your car, you may Johnny may know, we have an attitude of saying that it's the onlooker that's a saboteur. For us who felt that there is the structure that must look at, people felt that only these are people who want to break the country. Whereas it's because the truth is bitter. When we run regions in this country, there were layers of security. And that layers of security has specified duties that they play. In Nigeria, it's only federal police that plays all the roles. Laws of the federal government, federal police, laws of the state governments, federal government, federal police, local government laws, federal police. You see a federal police officer at Under Bridge in Kenya passing traffic. That's a disrespect to our federal police. So all these things are things that will not portend anything good for the country. So, but the setback can be turned to victory if you want to admit. Starting from the Senate. The Senate must realize that it's going to go around, The decadence in the security sector is going to go around. And now that it's touching them now, this is now they now realize that there must be declaration of emergency. We must make up our mind that we want to run a proper nation. Let us admit that this political structure is a failure.
That is where we have to begin.
That's where we have to begin. The preamble of maybe the service chiefs. You know, I said that on this program severally, another forum, press releases, that it's not about the service chiefs. When you have a car that is not doing well, it's not the driver. Repair the political structure. It's going to touch the security department. It's going to touch the economy. For instance, look at the economy of our state now. The economy of every state is dependent on Abuja. Whereas it's wrong. The state must allow to germinate. The state must allow to run its economy. The chief of the former Burata said that it's going to take us 20 years to get it right. He was right. He's a bold guy, but and I appreciate what he has said. Really? He just repeated what we have been saying, that what led us into this is as a result of the state not playing their roles. You have army of youth unemployed. Is that the role of the federal government to create employment for youth in the state? But the crime the federal government is committing is that you don't allow states to build their own economy. Allow states to control their own resources. They will take charge of their own security. They will take charge of their own economy. They will take charge of their laws. Now, Lagos, for instance, there's always a fracas at the beginning of last month. At the beginning of last month, between the federal traffic warden and the last month. Whereas the federal traffic warden has nothing to do with inner rules. All this, the federal is the state security outfit that must enforce the laws of the state. So, but we got it wrong. There's nobody that's going to run our country for us. And the earlier we admit the truth, the better. There's no region today that's live with both eyes closed.
Yes.
Southwest is the last man standing. The security is more of church.
Now, you have mentioned restructuring, basically, which is what a lot of people have also spoken about. But you know the sentiment and the reactions that have come up whenever this issue of restructuring comes up. There are divergent reactions, divergent views, and the president had to come up to say where he stood with regards to this issue. Now the Senate is reacting. They are saddled with that responsibility. If we are to restructure, amendments are going on with the Constitution. Do you think that they will be looking at tinkering with this aspect to ensure that we deal with the issues and address this security situation holistically? Because they are concerned now and are calling for a state of emergency.
I'm a pro-Buhari person, but with due respect, I disagree completely with Mr. President when it comes to restructuring. There are things that the president must know, that the people who are close to him must let him understand. That advocate of restructuring is not an anti-North agenda. And I know you know this history. Great Britain, at a point. The English used the Monica strength to suppress the Scottish, the Welsh, the Irish, until the English realized that numerical strength is used to build unity. And that was when the Scottish bowed to the English people. And today, the Scottish, the Welsh, and the Irish see the English as civilized. If we don't admit that this country, the way it is run, where you have power at the center, why is it that it's Mr. President that does almost 100% of the duties that the state government are supposed to be doing? You will appoint the IG is supposed to match rank and file. You will appoint the ministers. Then minister that come from each state, it's the president that will appoint you to go and so oversee. You don't run country like that again. And so Mr. President needs to take time to understand what is called restructuring. For people who make it look as if it's anti a particular ethnic group, we must begin to educate ourselves that restructuring is not anti anybody. It's like a medication. For sick person, there must be a medication. You can then begin to debate whether it is chloroquine, whether it is fencing. But we must first admit that the way we run our country is not the way we are supposed to be running anything. For instance, our army, they are not enjoying the utmost cooperation they are supposed to be enjoying from the people because of the gap, the natural gap that has been created. Because if insecurity is from your neighborhood, it creates natural familiarity. But if you bring a foreign person to come and secure, it is a natural mistrust among each other. And that is why it has been very, very difficult to fight Boko Haram. If you have state up, even if the state do not have the capacity to rupture the Boko Haram, they will be exchanging of information. And it will not even get to this point, because the local challenges each state have on security cannot be addressed by the federal government. Boko Haram issue in the Borno state, it got to the point where it got to today, until when the army boys came in, the police came in. The state governors had people, Islamic scholars who are superior to Islamic argument that there's no way they said I should be killing non-Christians in the Quran. It was working until the army came in. So each state is supposed to have been allowed to define and design their own peculiar security network. And it's not late. It's not late until we must not get to a point where we won't have a country again, where we won't have a state again, where the entire country will be taken over by bandits and hoodlums. And you know, there's an ideology that is coming up, the ideology of NSAS, the ideology of anarcho-syndicalism, the ideology of violence. Youth are beginning to build support around it. If you allow that ideology to fester, we are in a big trouble. So the earlier we begin to do what we are supposed to do, and what are we supposed to do, there must be devolution of power on security to state. Not only on state, on economy, and strategic aspect of our life.
As it stands,
on power.
Are we ready to carry on with this head on? Because this issue of devolution of power, the conversation is just that today. It has been on for a while now. As it is staring us in the face, are we ready to do this head on?
This is the reason why the rest of the world are not taking us serious. We have become a laughing stock. You say Dimitri was bad, you brought in Obasanjo. As soon as Obasanjo came on board, we engaged Obasanjo. The Pronaco engaged Obasanjo, and we explained to Obasanjo that even before he became the president, when he was African Leadership Forum, we talked to your people, the military, the khaki men, that the structure you operate, you are unitary, but there must be devolution of power. If you are handing over power, don't hand over power with this political structure. He admitted. Soon as he became the president, he seemed not to understand again. That was why it was disappointing later when he was writing letter that what had 8 years to do, you didn't do it. Now it's just an area that when you are no longer the president. So what I'm saying in essence is that there's the need for us to realize that we are not the only country in the world, 7th most populated, the first and the most populated in Africa. We must work. Every country has a role to play in the community of nations. Africa must. If Nigeria do not lead the battle of poverty, Africa will not be out of poverty. And that is the responsibility we owe Africa and the rest of the world. And that is why you see the rest of the world paying attention to Nigeria. But they became so disappointed that the model of governance in Nigeria, they don't seem to understand. Nobody has offered them an explanation to justify the way we have run our government. Look at the parliament. You have a senator who is entitled to 13 staffs. You have House of Rep who is entitled to 11 staffs. You have House of Assembly member who is entitled to 6 staffs. Where is that money coming from? Just one source, oil. And you think that this kind of country will prosper? It's not the cause. The country can't get anywhere. And that's why on security-wise too, there's no how you are going to run the security of the nation and you are going to get it right. There's no how you are going on the neck of the federal government to secure 36 states of the federation. It's not possible. Show me a country in the world where that is done. There's no country in the world that is done. In London, that's where all of us go all the time, all Nigerians, but politicians. In New York, you see New York police. You see all sort of network of police. Only in New York and ditto for other states. The same thing in London too. You see all sort of police. Why is Nigerian case different? Why is our own different? Why is it that we do not want to admit? Is it to suppress? Is if it is just to suppress the rest of the nation? That means it's an admittance that we are not going to get out of where we find ourselves. So for me, declaring a state of emergency, it's like a comic to me.
Really?
Yes. If you pronounce that you have declared a state of emergency, then what will happen? Are we going to import soldiers from South Africa? Are we going to? So what is the content of that declaration? Yeah, what is the new thing?
From what they have said, it is that the government focuses on the security situation, ensure that government equip the military, send personnel and training, recruit more people, and then the monies that has been said to be designated for palliative, you move those monies to buy equipment and every other thing necessary.
This is a familiar terrain. This is a familiar terrain. We have passed that terrain before, and we took a step forward and led us 10 steps backward. Nigerians should not agree with this, the Senate. It is a distraction to the solution. To where we are today. Where we are. And the reason why we're where we are is the structure. It's the way we run our country. There is no how we are going to get out of it if we continue to adopt this political model, the structure. We are not going to get out of it. If you are going to lump everything on the neck of the federal government, you don't run nations like that.
Invariably, what you're saying is the federal government alone is overstretched. They cannot handle it, and the states have to take responsibility.
You look at all the agencies that Buhari must attend to, all the DGs of agencies. Only Buhari. You look at the ministers. He will read security report from NSO. He will read security report from NIA. He's going to read from the army, the Air Force, the DSS. Only on Buhari, and he has only 24 hours, no extra, in a day to attend all these things. And that is why you will see every Nigerian president being messed up before he gets out of power, because he can't get it right. He can't address all these sensitive issues, and that's all are sensitive. Economy is sensitive. The earth, COVID-19, is a major battle that the entire world is battling. It's sensitive to read medical reports from the Minister of Earth. Then the economy, all aspects of it is sensitive. Why must it be that it is only the president that must address all those issues?
Handle all those issues.
Why can't the president just default power? Whoever that is giving the president impression that the enemy of the government are asking for restructure, they are not doing a great disservice to the country. In the time of Tafawa Balewa, Awolowo and Sik, the leaders are not even interested in the center. The major issue in any nation, the major issue are in the regions, are in the state and the locals. The center is just a ceremonial thing where we agree on currency, agree on mode of security, agree on immigration, all those policies. Right. This is what the center is supposed to be doing. But when you create a very bogus center for people, and you create duplications of office. You have 36 Commissioner of Education, Minister and Junior Minister of Education, everything on education,
for you
and
now,
you don't allow states.
Yeah. So this is why some majority of the states where we see these issues of insecurity, kidnapping and banditry, this is why they cannot handle it themselves.
Yes, that's the reason. You don't give them the power to run their, if you run their, see, there's no, when there's an economic depression, there will be a corresponding moral depression. The states have army of unemployed youth because they are too dependent on the federal government. If they run their own economy, there is no state in this country. Nigeria has over 4% of the resources of the world. There's nothing we consume in this country, either as a foreign product, that we don't have raw material to produce in Nigeria. There's nothing. Missiles. For intercontinental ballistic missile, you have uranium, you have all sorts of things, and they are not being manned. The only thing we are good in is spending oil money, and oil is going out of stock. So, what we are saying is that it is important for us to realize that you cannot create a model out of a universal model. There's a universal model on how you can run your country. You can't design a new model. We are human beings that is guided by particular spiritual and physical law. That spiritual and physical law, if you don't do it, you can't get that. And that's what Nigeria is doing. You are doing opposite of what you are supposed to do for your nation.
Some southwest states, which you were part of, came up with the Amotekun to bridge these gaps. We are still seeing some of the challenges.
Look at the controversy that has welcomed Amotekun. And up to now, the expected legislation that they are supposed to do to empower Amotekun, we are not giving it. We are not hurting anybody. We are all hurting the nation together. Some people sit in Abuja and say that they are not going to pass that law. You are hurting. You are hurting the Southwest. You are not hurting the Southwest. And we knew that a time will come where all the ethnic groups will be holding each other responsible. And it's coming to that. You didn't allow Amotekun to operate. And look at what Sunday Igboho is doing. He's saying that. And that is going to come to that. It's going to come to a worse situation. It's not an incitement.
If something
it's a reality. If something is not done. You didn't give the enabling empowerment, legislative empowerment to Amotekun to operate. They can still hold gun with one bullet. When we have bandits holding sophisticated weapon. You are not hurting anybody. You are hurting the entire nation. If the model works, it is a thing that all the regions can also adopt. If the economic model, where states can generate their own resources works, all the other regions will adopt it. But as long as we are thinking that the way to run a nation is for a part of a nation to be suppressing that of a nation, it's archaic. Nobody does that again. Numerical strength all over the world are used to unite people now. They are used to advance the nation. And that is what I think we should be doing. If a Yoruba is a neighbor to a particular minority ethnic group, we must use our strength as Yoruba to strengthen that ethnic group. Ditto for Ijo, ditto for North. So if you don't do that,
insecurity, does not know any tribe,
does not know any tribe.
Religion. It's an issue that affects everyone. And so we must deal with it as what affects everyone without any tribal sentiment or religious sentiment. We have to leave the conversation here. Thank you for your time on the program. Well, let's tell you that the views and reactions of all our guests are theirs and have no connection with TVC.